microphone's better.
So today we're going to cover parts of the audio system that we don't get much talk about it. It's about speech, the vocal process. And now, as you remember, now I have discussed with you in previous lectures those questions. Some of them I think we asked you about in the first exam. And then this is the last question around this series. How does audio system process for speaking, for that matter? So speech has two components. One the listen, one's the speaking, and it involves also learning language, right? So that's the process that we're going to discuss today. Now, if you look at the entire brain and ask why we study audition, I give you a number of reasons before. But here's a summary of the kind of questions that involve the brain and the audio system. Yes?
Would it be possible to turn the mic up a little bit?
Oh, turn mic up. Thank you. So let me see. Is it better? Is it better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. So if you hear me, just if I don't see you, just say hi. In a few minutes, I'll get to why this is important to, actually, this is a hard question. Because when you give a talk at a stage, this is not a normal stage. And you actually don't hear other people do them. Because when you have mechanism internally that will modulate what we're talking, so we hear also very clear. And in a few minutes, we'll get that point. And this is not the worst stage. If you give them a big lecture, huge auditorium with sound coming from here, it can be very interrupting. So here are my questions, general questions that we're dealing with here with the brain. That is important to bear in mind. That is when we hear a sound, hear a sound, and these are the three elements of information you need to know. First one, you want to know where the sound comes from. Just kind of want to go. The student ask a question, you might hear, I turn on, and try to find out where the sound comes from. This is the very first thing you would do naturally whenever you hear a sound. That right, unless it's right in front of you, you don't want to identify where it comes from. This is part of survival. And then, of course, immediately you want to figure out what does it mean? What do people talk about? The third one, not so trivially, is who is talking, right? Who's talking. So we touched upon localization of the sound in last lecture, like a couple weeks ago. Now, then you look at the brain. This is the part of the audio cortex we'll talk about. So when we listen to a sound, we go from ear, we have discussed this from inferior critical thalamus all the way to primary cortex. You listen, and you understand the sound. Of course, you memorize it if it's foreign language something. For your native language, you do this many, many times unconsciously, but you learn it. So you form memory, and you store somewhere. That's one process. And then, when you listen to a sound that you're familiar, like your native language, you actually automatically retrieve that information through memory. So there's a memory retrieval for the memory when you listen. Now, people have done this study. If you let you listen to something you're so familiar, if you're secretly delete the element of that, you almost as if you don't know. So when we listen to familiar sound like native language, we actually don't listen part of that. Our brain automatically fill in the rest. That is called memory retrieval. So that's the listening part. Then there's a part called speaking. That when we decide to talk, and then we talk, then we control our mouth, and we actually control our hearing. This is something we talk. So it is these two processes between STGs, respiratory gyrus, and frontal cortex, which we didn't talk about much. Going back for this information, that give rise of audio systems. That's a beautiful picture. Okay. Now, when you speak something like a whole sentence, like this in English, we would talk like time, frequency, intensity, and this is the spectrogram that we all call in signal processing. If you remember, that is running sentence. There are some elements here we mentioned before. It's called pitch that modulate what we say. Now, in a few minutes, we're going to go through apparatus in our body around here that explains how that kind of sound is generated. So this is a typical speech generated by human speaker, and it's generated like this. This is an anatomic drawing of our speech production apparatus from the side. So lungs here, air pass through here. So whenever we want to speak, we actually push it, our lung comes. We move air out. Okay? Then when air out pass through here, and there's something here called a vocal fold. So if you put your finger here, if the male, you have a bump here. As a female, you don't have a bump, but you still have the same vocal fold you have. If you put it here, you say, you feel vibration. If you whisper, there's no vibration. Okay? So now here's coming to signal processing now. So with the air, you compress your lung, diaphragm, push air out. That's continuous signal, right? That signal has no particular frequency. It's really a broadband signal, continuous. Then when that air passes through this piece of thin membrane that is in the middle of this jacket, and that piece of membrane has a little gap there. So when air has pressure punches through it, it gets a vibration. That vibration is what you feel with your finger here. That's what we call the pitch. We talk about many times. That is exactly what gives a male and a female identity. So male and female differ in speech mostly is by vibration frequency here. And the male frequency, like what I'm speaking now, is somewhere between 150. And female can be higher, and if you try, you can mimic higher or lower. Okay? All of you can do, oh. That's because you have created different pitch here. Okay? That's the first thing. Okay. So the air passes through here now, in terms of the signal, is now periodic because it has vibration. There are periodic frequency general here, so no longer continuous unmodulated. Then once you reach what I call upper non-zero cavity, that is inside your mouth, with your tongue, lips, you don't have to position that. Then you produce different sound. It does the entire thing about speech processing. This is what we're going to do. Okay? So what's what coming out of your mouth? If you put a microphone here, record that signal. If it's English vowel E, then you count the spectrum. This is what you see. Then you have 3 peaks in the spectral band called F1, F2, F3. That's performance. Before. If you push your tongue instead of high but low, you press R, then those 3 formats move. So it is this configuration that gives rise to different vowels. Okay? Before that, it's air passing through here, general pitch, that's the same. Okay? Now, this process has been studied very thoroughly, and people can build lifetime models to produce human voice as you wish. Okay? And this is a more drawing of this, and the vocal fold, when the air passes through here, that signal after this is called diaphragm pulses. Okay? And then the rest of it is plotted here. If you plot the signal, here's something you didn't know since you're engineers. That is the signal that comes before this, before plot here, it's just flat randomly, right? And then after the vocal fold, when the diaphragm pulses become periodic, and there's F0. F0 is a pitch, that is vibration frequency here, that you can modulate. And here, example here, show F0, 100, here's 200, and there's a decay exponentially. That's because this physics system, you generate vibration here, automatically it would have decay. That's just a physical system, linear system you learn. And then the vocal track, which is we talk about this space all the way here, that by itself has a filter property. It's oscillator. Okay? It will generate those peaks we call formants. And because this system is linear in cascade, right? So you think about you model the whole vocal apparatus. Air coming here, this is input, and here's the first filter that generates genital pulses, and this is second filter. And if you look at output, you have, remember your linear system theory, you have filter 1, filter 2, is cascade. What is the output? Output function, the whole function is this multiplied like this. Okay. Years ago, when I was in graduate school, this was the question I was put to ask. Someone draw this thing. individual on the blackboard. The professor will interview me. They say, oh yeah, electrical engineer, tell me what is the output. If you remember linear system, it's very straightforward. It's cascade. Cascade system, you multiply. So you multiply those two spectrum. This is what come out of a mouse. Is the shape you have seen. There's formats, there's three formats come out of here, and then the fundamental will come from vibration here. Okay? So that's what we talk about. Okay? So once you have this, then if you're going to model your different values, all you need is just change this part. Okay? If you want to model a film, you change the voice. Okay? So this is the picture I showed you before. That's the way to memorize. Just visualize how to characterize the vowels, simply speech sound. This is now you know where this come from, where this come from. Figure it's from here. Okay. Now, what's interesting that we talked about it when I finished the last lecture of this a couple of weeks ago, is that the spectrum of these, we can hear. Here is a vowel. We can hear another vowel if you will change. So our system must capture this, represents the internal, right? Just an example, I give you front of my hand, you memorize it. Back of my hand, you memorize it. So you close your eye in your visual system, you know front and back of the hand. So you take this to store somewhere. Same thing for the auditory system. So this vowel is captured in the auditory system. Perhaps to memorize some of it. How is it captured? In the first stage, in auditory nerve, if you place a vowel to a cat many times and record hundreds of auditory nerve fibers to this same vowel, and line them up based on the frequency tuning, you get this profile we call family representation that we talked about earlier. This is how this vowel presumably is captured by human auditory system too. So most people believe the mammalian auditory system is quite similar. Okay. Now, then what about the pitch? What about that? This is what talk about what we mean capture is the formats. So formats is captured by the profile here. But what about the pitch? The pitch that gives us rise of male or female among other things. This now we know is the process that we mentioned earlier, just quick review, by the spatial region in the human brain, and we also found that in the monkey brain, that the process pitch. So pitch is tracking. That's what we talked about earlier. Now, then move on. Now we talk about then how do people hear the speech? Okay. I said earlier, when you hear familiar speech, you really don't need to hear everything. It turns out the way we hear speech, the speech you know as your language or foreign language you learn, is completely different from the way we hear the non-speech sound. This is a phenomenon called categorical perception. It's one of the most important phenomena of speech we talk about for humans. And for example, if you do the following experiment, you create a series of sounds from da to ta. And da and ta has same vowel ah. It's different between the friction D and T. It turns out if you look carefully, it's from older papers, so it's not covered. It's all is different is there's something called voice unsaid time. Zero is the voice unsaid, and here's the vowel stop. Okay. So now if you think it, try it now, if you consciously do it, just do it da, ta yourself. Then you realize that when you do da, you give off right away. When you do ta, you actually hold your voice back about 30 milliseconds, you give up, right? You try da, ta. Okay. Most of the time you don't pay attention until now. But if you pay attention, you actually notice you hold your voice on the time a little bit, about 30 milliseconds, give it ta. So it turns out if we generate, the computer generate a series of sound from a da to a ta, by changing systematically voice unsaid time, and then ask you, do this physics experiment. This is exactly physics experiment I discussed earlier, and you did homework on. I generated 10 voice unsaid time. One is 0, one is 80, and 0 is you hear is da, 80 is ta. Then I generate a whole bunch in between, 10, 20, 30, all the way. Then I'll give you randomly, give you one, and ask you to see what is this. We'll ask you whether you hear this as da. For example, we use da. If you hear it's da, you press 1. Here is ta, press 0. If your brain acts as if this is a native language to you, that curve, that psychometrical function you generate, is look at this. Okay, look at this. This is called category precision. That is, when the voice answer time varies between 0 and 20, nothing happens. It's like you all treat them as if it's just perfect dot. And then at some point it becomes a drop. And then of course, when it's longer enough, we treat them as top. Okay. Now, if you give this to a computer, if you write a computer program to do this, what a computer program will do? Or a computer program will assign the probability of being dot proportional to the distance of voice and VOT, how far away from this. Right? If you write a computer program, then you will get this. So the psychometrical function of someone who treats it as a foreign language, or if you mimic it by a computer, it will give you this. It will be linearly going down, right? Because the probability of you calling this a dot is highest, of this is lowest. Everything is proportional. That's non-categorical perception. And this categorical perception is what we learn in speech. And then turns out it's not only we do this. If you get an animal, two animals, this animal do the same. So in this experiment done many years ago, it showed humans and chinchillas about the same. Okay, so that shows you something fundamental. In this stage, this is not about language or speech. So categorical perception is one. Now, since you have learned the psychometrical function, so we take it a little bit further. That psychometrical function we just talked about, and we plot here, from dot to top, from dot to top, like this. This is called identification, right? Identification task. Just say, have you heard this or seen this? That's the kind of task we talked about earlier, but it's very different. Here, basically, ask the subject, did you hear it as a dot? Right? Now, you can also do something called a discrimination task that we all discussed earlier. We have a lecture that is now instead of asking people is dot or top, you give two some that just slightly different voice answer time. First, we give a sample here, give a sample here. You say, can you do that differently? Okay. This turns to be more sensitive way to test the categorical perception. So if a subject at least hear this categorically, then you will predict from here, when you give this two comparison, the discrimination will be very low because the subject treated VOT 0, VOT 10 as if it's the same. So the probability of that will be near chance level. But if you give a subject somewhere around here, between 30, 40, or 20, 30, they will differentiate this quite strongly. Okay? So that, if you plot the psychometrical function, will be somewhere high. Okay? So those two tasks together actually define categorical perception. Perhaps, I think I run out of my homework assignment. If I had a chance to give you another homework, there will be homework. But you know, given what we discussed earlier, you should be able to figure this out. Let's not really generalize. Now, one of the very important issues about speech and language is how we learn and how we acquire this. Speech is learned, okay? And I think I give you an example. If you listen to foreign language, you know, most of you are not native speaker of Chinese, right? So if I say wang 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 wang, right? You all know the story. It's learned. It's not a genetic code. So don't try to find a gene, not a code that doesn't exist. So speech is learned. It's very important. All of us learn this when we grew up, and that process can be interrupted because of disease and dysfunctions. So the learning of speech has two components: speech and language together. One is perception, one is production. Now we'll talk about some aspect of this. So if you look this timeline, okay, 0 is the time when you are born, and this is by months. So initially, within first about 4 months, infants discriminate phonetic contrast of all languages. We'll give some example. One is if you say e, this is called phoneme contrast. Now, in English, there are certain contrasts that does not exist in Japanese, Chinese, or so far so on, and vice versa. Okay. But when an infant is born, it doesn't matter. So actually, infants discriminate among any language. They have not formed any language per se. Then as they learn through the process, when they reach about 6 months, then they begin to show language perception for vowels. So e, this kind of difference, they will tell specific English. Now, I cannot speak the Scandinavian language. We will give you an example. It turns out the e in English is slightly different in Swedish. Okay? If any of you know Swedish, probably try to. I can try it. Okay? So those contracts, an infant acquire about 6 months of age. And then if you go on, and about 9 months is recognition of language-specific sound combinations. And then by 10 months, infants are no longer able to discriminate non-native language. So we're born as a world citizen. This is the descriptive use. And as we grow up, we become citizens of our own country or own language. So we lose that ability. Okay? This is a very important discovery made only about 20 years ago, no more than 30 years. Before then, people for speech were born with what we are able to see foreign language. Okay? Through control study, and then we'll talk about it, we will be discussing. So this initial part, until about 8 months, is what we call universal speech perception. Okay? So then second part, after 6 months and go on forward, is called language-specific speech recognition. So that's why, if you grew up in a bilingual family, if you try to speak to 2 languages back and forth, you have better chance to acquire both than afterwards. Now, in parallel, there's a production. Okay? This is what important about speech is not only listening but production. This goes hand in hand. So within 3 months, kids, I don't know if you remember when did you begin to speak. Does anyone remember when did you begin to speak? About 6 months. It's near 1 year. Okay. So listening comes first, and that's what everyone knows. And speaking comes later. In fact, we generally don't become to speak until about 12 months old. Okay. Some of you might speak later, in which your parents will be worried. So next time, actually, you should ask your parents, when did you speak this forward? Most of the time, it's about 1 year. Okay. During this process, what happened? What happened here? Even basically within 3 months, cannot speak any non-speech sound. Then 3 months or so, infants began to produce the wall like next time you say this is one. Then it becomes a bottling. This is called bottling. Then it becomes acquired language. You eventually speak. And if you look at this timeline is delayed from here. So next Friday, I'll give you one more lecture talk about copying time. That has something to do with the hearing loss. This is how you appreciate the importance of hearing. Because if you don't develop normal hearing, you will not develop normal speaking and language. Because the language speaking development is about 6 months to a year, like in behavior hearing. So it is this precedes the production. Okay, let's do check. So if you look at the when you acquire second language, right? Yeah. How many of you know second language? How many of you? Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So more than half of them know second language. So if you look at when did you learn, this is how proficient you are in the grammar. I mean, if you use native language as the RC. So, the older you learn, the worse you become. Okay. So I come to this country 30-some years ago after college. So I began to learn English seriously then. So when I look at the chart, I say, well, I'm pretty bad. I should be somewhere here, right? But if you try hard enough, you can cope. But in general, the earlier you learn, the better. This is the sort of curve here. Now, another thing is that this is quite interesting. So the language environment really shape you. And then here show you, if you look at American infants and Japanese infants, for a phonemes construct called R and a lock. Okay. Rock and a lock. Okay. I think all of you should be able to tell. Rock and a lock. But if you test this, the need for Japanese speaker, in Japanese, rock and a lock is not a differentiate. So we will not differentiate. So my own personal experience is that when I learned English early on, when I was college student China, so we had this teacher come from Michigan State in Lansing, Michigan. And we have 9-year class, around about a year from now, and she was teaching us English. So English, you all know, when you say this is today, or 0, right? You know the difference, right? TH versus this, 0 versus this. But this particularly phonetic distinction does not exist in Chinese. In Chinese speaking, you never put a tone in between 2 teeth. There was not a thing. It's all 0, 0, 0. So one nurse, nobody can hear. She was saying this, that, and we nobody hear it. Because if you grew up in an environment that phonemic distinction doesn't exist, you cannot produce. This is a very important principle. You must hear first before you can produce. I remember many years later how she taught us. She basically says, push your tongue in between two teeth. Then say, "Vic." Okay, that's how we learn. And but years later, when I come to America, now when I listen to NPR, I can tell right easily this is me. But that's process, right? So when I read this literature, I was very fascinated. But I did not know this literature exists when I taught the students. So you run the same thing when you pick up a foreign language, but eventually you learn if you're child enough that you can hear this. So for Japanese and American infants, it is 6 months or younger. There's no difference. But once they grow, about a year, American infants can differentiate rock and lock pretty easily, and not Japanese. Okay. That's the data that show you that chart that you can read. This is quite interesting. Now, one way people figure this out, this is a very important discovery in the understanding of speech that we just talked about here. They use this description of vowels that we've seen before, and we show this again. Now, if you take an English vowel, you plot, say there are about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 formats all produced by here. It turns out the first and second are most important. This is the third, this is the fourth. So you can use the first two formats, F1 and F2, and plot that of all English vowels. And all English vowels are distributed here. Different symbols, different individuals. So if you think of all of us, say analyze it, will be fall into some of this okay? So use this basis. And people did a study in basically in about the 1980s or 90s by a scientist called Patricia Kuhl, who is really known, well known for this study. She is a scientist at the University of Washington, Seattle. Okay. So she did this study. She wanted to test American infants' sensitivity to American English phoneme versus a language that is similar to English, but is distinctly different, that is Swedish. Okay. And in American English, you have this vowel called E, and in Swedish, you have something called E. I cannot pronounce. And someone told me it's a subtle difference. If you know someone from Scandinavia next time, so it could. Okay. So if you plotted the American E versus Swedish E, then in this F2 versus F1 domain, this is the standard American E called a prototype standard. And this is standard Swedish prototype E. Then what they did is that they generate the other sound. Each start will represent a combination of F2, F1. Basically, it's different sounds, slightly different. One way, so it's kind of one standard deviation way, two standard deviations, three standard. So when you move away from here, they become this and this prototype. Still something. So then what I did is that in here, in the United States, they test American infants, how the infants can tell this when they move away. Remember, because infants by this age now, they perceive speech categorically. So when you move the sound away from prototype, when it's not too far, they still think that's the same thing, that because categorical precision, right? It's standard here, you move here, until you move far away, start falling apart. So when you move within a certain distance, they still think that's E. So that's American infants. But if you test Swedish infants on the American vowel, they fall much more rapidly. This is like that curve, non-categorical precision I showed you earlier. But if you reverse experiment, it's like this. Okay. Years later, Dr. Kuhl told me that in order for them to do this, they basically have to flew the entire equipment into Stockholm and test there and flew back because to make sure it's consistent. So the basic part of Swedish infants in Stockholm or American infants in Seattle, they did this test. And that is formed the notion that in that age, 6 months is breaking point. Younger than that, these two curves are together. Older than that, about 8 to 12 months difference. Okay. Now, this phenomenon eventually was called perceptual magnet effect. That is, if you look at this sound acoustically, they just move at the same basic physical distance. So so if you test them, this grade, if this F1, F2, they are equal distance. But when you test the infants, whether American and Swedish, they gravitate towards their own angle. It's like a magnet. It's our perception of distort what is the physical space. That's the important message. Now, that's the perception. What about production? Okay. And we continue to use this F1, F2 analysis. If you look at the infants who speak vowels at 12 weeks, it's about 3 months, and analyze F1 versus F2 for 3 vowels, 3 R, E, U. They're like this. So at 12 weeks, about, over on top of each other. Then more separate. By the time of 20 weeks, quite separate. Remember, this is the basis for others to hear them clear. Okay. And this process is what we talk about here, right? 20 weeks, about 7 months. It's 3 months, about 3 months, right? Oh, sorry, 5 months. It's Friday. So if you look at here, so infants become to produce, start to produce wildlife a couple months earlier. Okay, so that's it. Now, this process turns out very much influenced by mother, and if you look how this is how mothers speak basic English for this is Russian different language. If you look at how they speak this vowel, 12, there are 3 vowels here. If you measure this experiment, so they take a bunch of mothers, and they record what they say to their own baby. And then record what they say, same vowels to the adults. And then what you show here is that the infant speaking is solid symbols here. The open symbol is speaking to another adult. So what it shows is that when the mother speaks to infants, they exaggerate, they contrast, so infants can learn. So that separation between the cluster is further away than speaking to each other. So next time, if you are somewhere, you are too young, you have not had kids, so I just tell you, I have 2 kids, so I sort of knows what it's like, even though it's not like. So just listen to the mother next time. Observe when mother talk to the kids, right? Mother because one is very slow, or another they try to pronounce the sounds not exaggerate, not unnatural in it, so that it becomes contrast higher. And this is the process of the mother talking, and that helps infants to learn, because the infants when they learn, initially they don't pronounce the vowels separately. They have a learning process. The process is enhancing the mother talking. So that's about speech development. So for the meantime, I'm going to change the gear, tell you something different. But let's move quickly into speaking in an adulthood, in the real social environment. Okay. What is the social environment? This environment, all of you are familiar. It's like cocktail party, like bar. One of the things you probably recognize that when you go to the bar, everyone is talking. You have to talk very loud, right? This is a fact that actually has been categorized called the lumbar effect. The lumbar effect. That is, if you're in an environment that is a lot of noise, you tend to increase your voice, so you think other people can hear this. But in fact, it's you increase the voice that you can hear yourself. Of course, other people can hear you better, but you can hear yourself. This is called lumbar effect. This is one of the first things you can demonstrate. We actually, when we speak, we hear ourselves. Okay? Most time when people talk about speech, they talk about hearing or speaking. There is a third line of work that I'm going to introduce today that is slowly getting into the textbook. Is that we hear ourselves. That's crucial for learning. Okay? One of the examples of lumbar effect that you probably run into very often is that you might have this experience. You go to the library. You have friends who study, but they have earbud on and listen to iPhone play musical thing. You say, hey, how's it doing? Because the library is quiet, right? You usually say, hey, how's it doing? And your friend say, hey, what? Right? Have you ever experienced? And they will answer much louder. That is proper for that environment. Why is that? Because they have earbud on. Their ear is adjusted by the volume there. So when they hear you, they speak loud, but they did not realize. That's actually the expression of lumbar effect. Turns out, number effect is not unique for the humans. It's part of speech. We use it every day, every day. And if you look at animals living in South America, here is a picture from South American Amazon jungle given me by colleague. And there's a monkey there, right? So there's monkeys, small monkeys, monkeys. This is real monkeys, the wild monkeys. And at the same time, there are probably half a dozen monkeys around here. Right? This is an animal actually that we study in my laboratory here in School of Medicine. That allows to understand the lumbar effect among other things in the brain. Okay? And this is what we talked about called lumbar state is getting very popular now. You can read this in the literature in coming year. And it's actually pretty small. It's only this big. Okay? It's over 400 grams. And it's a highly vocal social, and that gives us a way to study this. So here's the study we tested. So we have animal there, one test if they have lumbar effect. They talk, they like making sound like fade, right? Then this is the part. They don't create noise, shh, constant noise. Then we measure the talk, the shifting, just exactly the way you can do. So lumbar effect is part of the process we do. Okay. Now if you look at the brain, how this our own talking process. This is the classic picture from speech pathway that brain. You open any neuroscience textbook. This is what you get. We start from ear all the way to auditory cortex. The signal goes to the posterior area called the work area. That's for perception, and it goes to front for production. That's what textbook is on. But it's missing one part. What is missing is that the parts that control of production comes back to modulate perception. There should be error here. That is not there in the book. And the reason that that picture I show you here, if you go to medical school textbooks still talk about this. This is about 100-year-old knowledge that is initially established by vision study by physician. But it's only partially true. Long ago, people did this study where they dropped microelectrode in epileptic patients before the doctor decided which part of the brain to take out to stop seizure. And they stimulated parts of the brain and see if it can interrupt the speech because they want to see this. It turns out this area, of course, this is what we call a Broca area. There's a lot of effect, but the effect is everywhere. So the many parts of the brain that are involved with speaking, not just Broca. So that's too simple a picture. Now, the one very practical thing, this is the one thing I always like to bring to the student. At the end of the day, end of semester, you're going to forget 80% of our top class class. Okay? Unfortunately, you're going to forget all of them, no matter how you do. But you remember a few of them. One of the things that I think you remember is this question I just raised at the science behind this. That have you ever heard your voice record in a tape recorder and play back to you? Yeah? What does it sound like? Heard, right? What did you say? It's not like me. And I have to confess to you, every year when we give lectures, there are video cameras that are video tape us every time. And I put on the, I don't know where we put on the blackboard. A couple years ago, put on YouTube. I want to watch it once. I just cannot bear it. I just want to leave it. It was just quick. It's very difficult, actually. Very difficult to watch yourself. Why? Because we hear ourselves, like as I'm speaking now. I think I adjust my voice properly, calmly. I thought my voice was very smooth. And I hear that from a beautiful blackboard. It's all like terrible cracking. It was like, how could that be me, right? So this is actually intriguing, right? So in the entire universe, you are the only one who heard your voice in one way. The rest of the world here is completely different. That's what they in the video tape, right? Have you ever thought about why is this? Have you ever tried to go to Google, type this question? If you go to Google, type this question, it will tell you. What do you think is the reason? Why is that? This is so robust. I go give lectures everywhere, anywhere in the world, ask the question. It's the exact same answer. Everyone knows it's different. But why? Why? If I put this on an exam, I say, until this point, what's your answer? Why your voice, our own voice sounds so different when we hear from tape recorder? I mean, early on, when I was graduate student, the tape recorder is much more accurate. People blame tape recorder. But now, your microphone is so accurate. You take your iPhone, your smartphone, you record it pretty good. Why still taste different? Why? Any guess?
because you would only hear the echo and not the projection of the voice.
Yeah, that's the most obvious answer. When we speak, not only there's echo, but most important, there's bone conduction, right? So you can put your ear in somebody's back, stand here. When somebody speaks, you feel vibration. So we have bone conduction, and we talk about auditory nerve and the cochlear nuclei, and the cochlear is bone. Right? When we say I vibrate cochlear, my cochlear vibrates. So that's what Google will tell you if you go to Google this. But there's more. There's more. So here's a picture I believe student textbook original and the two. Let me show you what is missing here. Okay? So if you do this experiment, have subject look at the screen, and the imaging entire brain use a PET imaging. And the first one, you show this table. The subject views the word table. It's lined up here. Where is it? Visual cortex, right? Makes sense. And then you told someone, listen, there's no words here, but there's dots here. Listen to the word table. It shows up here. Where is that? Auditory cortex. Word key. Makes sense. Both make sense. Then it's following. Then you ask somebody when this one just sings the word table. Now, what is this? This is a motor area. This is broken. But when subject speaks the word table, does he hear the word table? Yes. It's not enough. But why auditory cortex doesn't have anything, right? So remember, when subject hears the word table, auditory cortex lights up. When he speaks, motor cortex lights up, of course, but it wasn't hears, right? The textbook, this part of the textbook, it did not explain this. I don't think the author knows. Okay, so something is missing here. Seriously missing, because if you actually make careful, you should question this. Why there's no activation in auditory cortex when someone speaks a word? Because you can hear it. In fact, our mouth is so close to our ear, we can't avoid it from here. Hear it pretty often. Okay. So long ago, I had a graduate student called Steve Elias. He was one of his biomedical engineering undergraduate students, then still on the PhD degree. And we did this experiment like where we have electrode in the auditory cortex for this animal called marmoset. The marmoset once will vocalize, right? Automatically, ooh, vocalize. Okay. So in auditory cortex, by now, I've told you, neurons have this and that part. You can measure. You press on the response. But except in this case, just like that missing thing in the video, at the picture shoot earlier. So those are spikes in some animal vocalize. And spikes is done. Okay, when I first observed this, was something wrong with our amplifier or something? Must be our system that's wrong. Why should we lose the spike? So we check everything, check. Usually we convince ourselves. Nothing was wrong except this is a phenomenon we never expect. Because this animal's auditory cortex should respond to its own sound, and which is very loud, about 80 to 90. So we record several hundred of them. And average it. So the average neuron response, line up at 0. 0 is the animal being calm. And here's what I saw. This is average. That the neuron response finally in auditory cortex becomes to drop. About 12 milliseconds before animal opens its mouth and produces sound. And then continuously stay low, suppressed until they finish. That's a phenomenon. This is a phenomenon. So now, of course, not every neuron does this. About 2/3 of neuron did this. 1/3 of neuron did this. When animal vocalize, response loud and clear. That's what we expect. If you do this experiment, auditory nerve, and most part of the auditory pathway, this is what you expect. You talk, some come back, you hear yourself. So why did the animal surprise itself? Okay. For the one surprise itself, this is a different subject. Why is this? So this will become very intriguing. So it turns out not only, if you go back now for the neurophysiology, remember, people observe this in surgical room as well. So this study done by Dr. Nathan Cron here at Hopkins. And in the neurological patients, they put electrode on the surface of the brain to record what's activity before they do surgery. Then this experiment, they give subject something or to listen. Then immediately after, they ask the subject just repeat it. If I play Friday, you hear Friday, you repeat Friday yourself. Right? When subject listens to the word, the response is high. When subject speaks the word, is low. just like monkey study. Okay, and this can be shown in a whole bunch of all the study now. So both in human and animals, whenever we speak, like I'm doing now, my audio cortex is actually suppressed. Okay, because the suppression in the monkey study beginning 200 milliseconds before we actually the monkey talk, we assume it's the same situation in human. It suggests it is our motor system somehow trying to turn off our auditory system when we're speaking. This makes sense just intuitively because, when we speak and our voice, our mouth is so close to our ear, right? So if I done this experiment, so here's a microphone, here's the speaker. You all know this in the conference room as well. If you move this too close to ear, right? That's mouth, this is ear. When it's too close, what you got? Oscillation. Right, that's the last one. But we speak our mouth, our microphone and the speaker so close, but we never oscillate. Not only we never oscillate, as a teacher, you will have this experience that when I talk, right, this classroom is medium size. We could have a much larger classroom, right? So when I talk, in order for you guys to hear, I try to speak actually louder than what I used to, about 70 dB now. Okay. But sometimes students whisper. Students say far away. Student whisper. I can hear it. I can hear it. It makes no sense because that whisper far away when it travel to my ear, compared with my own voice, this is tiny. I should not hear anything. So when we begin to talk, that's not politicians. Let's talk. I didn't hear it anyway. Right? But in fact, when we deal with people socially with each other, not only we talk and we hear people at the same time. Okay? So that's why perhaps the simple explanation why we suppress our hearing. That means my brain specifically only suppresses what I say, not that something coming from outside. Therefore, what something coming from outside, even though it's weaker, I can still hear. That's one. But there's more interesting to this that also with taste. That perhaps this has something to do with language acquisition we talked about earlier. That's the first 10 minutes to establish. That infants need to listen to mother in the process of several months after a year before the infants can gain hearing. It's that process. And when you learn foreign language, you probably remember that the very first word you spoke of language is wrong. You can't hear something again. Like if you learn English first, Friday. But the very first you say Friday is not standard. It's not Friday. It's not Friday. You have to repeat it. This process you have to hear yourself. So perhaps this suppression is a part of the system that for the vocal control and learning. Okay. Here's the experiment people did to test that hypothesis. Okay. Here's the experiment. You have a subject, you put the subject in a headphone, and have a good signal, and put a microphone here. Then ask the subject to produce a vowel. Let's say we call it B in this F1, F2 space. The subject produces a vowel, and then without telling the subject, you shift it and put it back. So subject speaks this vowel, you shift it to B prime, and say what subject do. Okay. This is like, I ask you to say ah, I say ah, you don't say ah. Then I secret, turn it high. Then you hear ah. Okay. You hear ah, and you say ah. What are you going to do? Oh, this is the uniform system, linear system, right? Feedback. You're going to produce ah. Because you say, oh, I speak too high, right? So subject is intended to say this, and hear this or produce this. It's called condensation. Okay? So this kind of experience showed us that we, as we speak with normal hearing, we hear ourselves all the time. That's the basis for your learn foreign language. It is also the basis for your learn native language. It's just that you did so smoothly, unconsciously, you never pay attention to your learn foreign language. By the time you learn it out. So we did an experiment repeatedly in Mama says, right? So we put it here, headphone on Mama says. When Mama speak, we put it feed in the bike, and then we shift the frequency. We did the same experiment. Right? We did an experiment. And then we record from the brain. So this is what happened. So when we feed the Mama vibration back normally without doing any alteration, it's a surprise. I just told you. Then we shift it by frequency by quarter of octave. Suddenly, neuron can do response. Okay. So this shows that the neuron in the cortex that's normally suppressed the animal's own speaking is sitting there detecting mismatch between intended sound and the sounds that just come back. So that's your average here. Normal feedback and the shifted feedback. So 2/3. Okay. And if you were to quantify the neurons, whether they are suppressed or not suppressed, normally this is index. And how sensitive they are to the feedback is here. So this established for the first time the link between auditory cortex, which is responsible here, and the vocal production. So here's the summary for this. So we already talked about it here. So when we hear sound comes from external sources, it comes through ear, brainstem, all the way down to the cortex. Then when we speak, this is the pathway. When we speak, when sound goes outside, other people hear, but it comes back. So we hear also, then we compare with what we want to talk. Dr. Chandler uses a model that you forget called inference copy. So when you want to do this movement or produce a sound, you have an internal model. It's called inference copy. That has to be compared with what we hear. If the difference is greater than 0, we go back to again until error is 0. This is how it is. So what we show here, auditory cortex is a part of this. Okay? So when you do this movement, Dr. Chandler must tell you, how do you do this correctly? You use the vision and other way to know where the head is target. In speaking, we use the same ear that hear other people's sound to hear also for us to learn. Okay. So why do voices sound different on tape? Not only air conduction or bone conduction difference. It's because the vocal production system modulates auditory cortex. This is what you do now. Okay. And this is also the same mechanism when you do music instrument. Not only you hear yourself, and not only you control your motor. It's the same circuits. Okay. And here's the paper, and the final finish. If any of you are interested in music, just 1 minute study. And my lab is conducting study to measure absolute pitch. Do you know absolute pitch? Does any of you have absolute pitch? Okay. If you know anyone who has absolute pitch, come to test it. You want to see how absolute pitch. Does anyone know what is absolute pitch? Okay, absolute pitch is a phenomenon basically. If you have a piano key, without knowing which key I put touch as here, and you can name people who have absolute pitch can name exactly the keys. And people who don't, can't. So here's the data. So here's the experimentation. So you have piano keyboard who play sounds randomly and ask you to name it. If you, this is a professional musician, violinist, this is a score, basically. This subject can name every piano key, this amazing. If you are not, it's all over the place. So we are doing a study to measure across population how well this is. So if you are interested, I have laboratories, this is self-assessment. I have some lab in class 106. We conduct this kind of study. If you're interested, and write to Dr. Huang, there's an email. And we're recording you guys as control, and we're recording music students from Peabody as the experimental subject. Okay. So I'll start here, and I'll see you next Friday. Thank you.